Namaste, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is Dharma, or your soul's purpose. And I think this episode is great at this particular point because over the last couple of weeks on the podcast, we were talking all about manifestation. And part of that conversation was about uncovering what it is you truly desire from a soul perspective, and then how to bring that into the world. And once we understand what it is that we truly desire from a soul's perspective, then we can start linking that to our soul's purpose. It's a way of helping us to understand why we came here and what we are meant to do. So I think this is just a perfect, addition to that series of manifestation. Before we jump in, I want to remind you it's also the perfect time of year to start working with a coach like myself, to start your journey of self-discovery, to begin uncovering what's holding you back, what's keeping you stuck, and to step into a life that feels like yourself, that feels aligned, that feels purposeful and meaningful, that feels really peaceful because you know that you're in alignment and you know you're living your values and you know that you're using this precious time that you have here on earth wisely, that you're not going to look back and regret, wish you had done something differently. So this is a beautiful time to work together. If you are interested, there is a book a discovery call link in my show notes, and it is just 20 minutes. It's free. We get to chat. First of all, it's a win-win because I love to chat with any of my listeners and get to know them. So I'd love to just have the conversation with you. And then we can talk about if it's the right fit, if I'm the right fit for you, if this is the right time for you, if the programs that I offer work for you. We can have that whole conversation, get to know each other a little bit, and then take the next step if it feels aligned. All right, my friends, now on to this episode on Dharma. Before we begin, I wanted to read a series of quotes to you because this concept of Dharma, that's the word we use, or Sva Dharma in yoga philosophy, it's not reserved to yoga philosophy. This is a concept that is in all the world's major religious traditions, wisdom traditions. It's talked about by spiritual teachers, by poets, by thought leaders. There is so much emphasis in these traditions on the importance of uncovering why you came here and what you were really meant to do. And so I wanted to just read some of these quotes to you and see if maybe one of them in particular lands for you. So here's the first one, Thich Nhat Hanh. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. I happen to love that one personally. Pema Chodron, we don't set out to save the world. We set out to wonder how other people are doing and to reflect on how our actions affect other people's hearts. Mary Oliver, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? David White, the great question is not, what is my purpose, but what am I called to serve? And service is a big part of the concept of Dharma, which we will get into in a little bit. The Bhagavad Gita, which is an ancient text of yoga, an ancient yoga text, it is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live in imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. And I love that quote because it gives us permission to be messy. It gives us permission to not be good at things. And it's saying that although you may be able to do something perfectly, if it's not what is you are meant to be doing, if it's not the reason why your soul is here, that it's not only okay to walk away from it, it is highly encouraged that you do so because you came here for a specific reason. And even if that means in the beginning you're really bad at it. It's still better. It's still better than this other life that looks perfect from the outside but doesn't feel like perfection on the inside. Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Another great quote. I love this quote. It also speaks directly to the concept of dharma because when we're talking about dharma, we are not only talking about serving others, we're talking about actually serving ourselves first. We are finding that thing that makes us come alive, finding that thing that makes us feel deeply in alignment with our soul. And then from that place, we are serving the world. And this last one is by a yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda. Your purpose in life is to find your own purpose and give your whole heart and soul to it. And I deeply believe in each one of these quotes. They are powerful quotes speaking to the importance of this concept of Dharma. So, have you ever wondered why you're here? That is my first question to you guys. Have you ever wondered, what is the point of life? Why am I here? What would change if I wasn't here, if I kind of dipped out? Would it matter? Would anyone notice, right? Would the world be better or worse? These are questions that I think that many of us grapple with, especially as we enter midlife, because in the early stages of life, the early years of life prior to midlife, we are in a phase of accumulating, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is the kind of natural order of things. We are accumulating education. We are accumulating jobs or careers. We are accumulating friends and partners and children. We are accumulating material things like homes and cars and all the stuff that we use to live our lives. And that is normal and natural. But once we hit midlife, we've kind of done the things, right? Most of us have done all of that accumulating. And additional accumulating really doesn't bring us any additional life satisfaction. It doesn't fill this desire for meaning and purpose in our lives. And we start to feel that. That's why in midlife, many women are, well, women, yes, but people in general, men and women, start to feel a little blah. They start to feel unfulfilled. They start asking this question, why am I really here? What's the point of life? How do I want to use this time? How do I want to use this second half of my life? Because I realized how quickly the first half went. And the answer is really never, if you're truly in touch with your soul, to accumulate more things. It is to give back. It is to be in service. It is to help make this world a better place. That is where our hearts tend to travel during this midlife stage. And it's a beautiful time to do so because along the way of accumulating all the things that I mentioned, we also accumulated hard-won wisdom, right? We are not new kids on the block, right? We have learned lessons, big, important lessons that we can now share with the generation coming up behind us or with our own generation or the generation above us who just missed the lessons along the way, right? Because not everyone transmutes suffering into lessons, right? That's a skill, learning how to take your suffering and transmute it into evolution and discovery and making your life and better and expanding your soul, right? That's a process that we have to learn. So if you've done that in one or more ways, then you have so much to give back to this world and such an important role to play in making this world a better place. And we've talked about the arrival fallacy in previous episodes, but just to give you a recap on that, basically what that means is that we think that by getting to a certain place, we'll eventually be happy. And again, we decide the next promotion will make us happy, the next partner or friendship or hobby or vacation or material possession will make us happy, only to arrive there. That's why it's called the arrival fallacy, and find that we have temporary pleasure or enjoyment from arriving there. And then once again, we're left with this kind of hole in our heart, this sense of being unfulfilled, of feeling like there has to be more to life, right? That's the arrival fallacy. But when we understand that we actually never arrive, that life is, if we allow it to be, a series of unfolding, continuous unfolding that never ever ends, and that true meaning comes from diving deeper and deeper into life versus staying on that horizontal plane of life. The horizontal plane is, where we perform all of our physical actions that we do. It's where we go to work and we do the dishes and we raise the kids and we pay the mortgage, right? That's the horizontal plane. The depth of life, the vertical plane of life, is about connection with yourself, connection to something greater than you, service, meaning, purpose, self-discovery. And so we never arrive there, right? That is a never-ending fountain of joy and meaning and purpose. And in midlife, that's where we need to go. We have spent most of our life probably living on that horizontal plane with maybe a little dip into that vertical plane. But in midlife, we're ready to live on that horizontal plane when we need to, right? We've still got to go to work and do the dishes and pay the mortgage, but we want to spend more of our time in the depth of life. And that's where Dharma comes in. That's where your soul's purpose comes in. Because Dharma doesn't care about the horizontal plane of life. It doesn't care about success or money or accolades. It doesn't care about who thinks you are important or who thinks your Dharma is important. It really only cares about being expressed, about taking whatever it is, this fire that is burning inside of you, and bringing it to life on the outside of you. And so we all have a choice, and that choice is either to fulfill our dharma, to step into a dharmic life, which is a life of purpose, or to live an adharmic life, which basically means the opposite of your purpose, right? Living outside of your purpose. And really, that choice is the choice between emptiness and fulfillment, because we will never truly feel fulfilled until we step into our dharma, until we live a dharmic life, until we stoke the fire that's inside of us and allow it to come out of us and to serve others in the process. So what does it feel like, right? What does it feel like to be in Dharma, to live it? How do you know, right? If you're in your Dharma, what does it feel like in your mind? What does it feel like in your body? So you'll know when you're in Dharma, when you feel joyful, when you feel free, when you feel in flow, when you feel creative, connected, inspired, fulfilled, supported, impactful, resilient, grounded. These are all ways that you know that you're in Dharma. And Dharma doesn't have to be just one thing, right? So it's not a job title, it's not a role, it's your way of being in the world in every aspect of your life, in your work, in your relationship with your partner, in the way you parent, in the way you have conversations with people on the street or your grocery store clerk, right? Your dharma is your essence, the essence of who you are. Now, once you understand your dharma, you may funnel that into a particular profession or a particular hobby, but it's not something that only lives there. So, for example, I consider myself to be a spiritual teacher, a guide, a space holder. These are all parts of my Dharma. And I do that. I do that as a coach. I do that as a workshop facilitator and a speaker and a yoga teacher. But I also do it as a parent, and I also do it as a friend, and I also do it with strangers, right? I do it, it may look a little different, right? The way that it is expressed may come out a little different based on the situation that I'm in. But at my essence, at my soul's level, and at the heart of me, I am a teacher and I am a guide. And the way in which I express that changes based on what I'm doing, but it's always there. It never leaves me, and it never has left me. I have been a teacher and a guide for as long as I can possibly remember. I was that as a nurse. I was that as a high school teacher many, many years ago. I was that even as before I ever had a profession with my friends amongst my friend group. I am that as a parent. That's who I am at my essence. And the more I can learn to lean into that, to understand that's who I am and why I came here and what I am meant to do, the more I can refine it and it can become even more potent. Because that's the thing about Dharma. We all come into this world with a particular Dharma and it never leaves us. It stays with us throughout this lifetime. But the more we recognize it, the more we pour ourselves into it, the more we accept that's who we are, the more potent it becomes because it's almost like a funnel, right? So you know how a funnel starts out really wide and gradually narrows until it goes into that little part in the bottom. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the different parts of the funnel, but the little tube that comes out the bottom. And that's what we're doing when we're living a dharmic life. We are taking all of our experiences, our gifts, our knowledge, our wisdom, our self-discovery. We're taking everything really that happens to us in life, and we're funneling it down to the most concentrated form of our dharma that we can express. And so when I use myself as an example over a lifetime, being someone who is always the listener for my friends and someone that people came to for help, being the high school teacher, being the nurse, being the yoga teacher, being the coach, right? These are me further and further and further refining my Dharma and getting closer and closer to my essence, right? Each one of these steps has brought me closer to my truth, because that's another way we can define Dharma. It is your truth, right? The truth that cannot be denied, the truth that cannot be changed. And as we become more and more aligned with who we really are, and we step more into our dharma, right? That funnel gets more and more narrow. Life becomes magical and it becomes effortless and it becomes so beautiful. So we talked about what it feels like to be living on purpose or living in your dharma, but what does it feel to be not living in your purpose or adharmic? Well, it feels all the opposite emotions, right? So you're probably going to feel contracted. You may feel anxious, a little dull or depressed, nervous. You feel tight in your body. You feel uninspired. Life's trials tend to really bring you down because the thing about Dharma is that when you're really living your soul's purpose, it generates this energy inside of you. And that energy protects you. It makes you resilient to life's challenges. And we're always going to have challenges, whether you're living a dharmic or an adharmic life. Challenges are going to come your way. That's not going to stop. But it buffers you against those challenges and it helps you to find the lessons and the meaning in the suffering much more easily. And it helps you transmute that suffering into your dharma, right? So you can take whatever suffering you're experiencing and learn and grow from it and then help it to further concentrate your dharma, further funnel down your dharma. If you're in a dharma, you may feel like you can never get into a flow state or you just don't feel creative. You feel kind of stuck when it comes to creativity. You can feel very ungrounded. So we mentioned Dharma, it grounds you, right? It gives you purpose. It gives you something to live your life by, right? Everything comes back to this, right? If we filter all of our choices and our decisions and our thoughts and our actions to this essence of who we are, if we don't have that, what are we filtering through, right? How are we making our choices, our actions, our thoughts? What are we using to guide us when life gets really noisy? And life gets really noisy and it can pull us off course. And our Dharma is our way. It's part of our North Star. It reorients us to our truth, to our internal truth. So here's the question. How do we lose our way, right? If Dharma is something that we're born with and it stays with us through our entire lifetime, how do we lose it? How do we not know what it is? And first, let me just say, if that's you, that is, there's no shame, right? This is something that happens to many, many people. It certainly happened to me. I work with all kinds of people who that's why they're working with me, right? Because they've lost their way. So this is not something to feel bad about or feel shameful about or beat yourself up about. It really is kind of the natural course of life, to be honest. I think I think life is designed really to pull us off course, and the work of our lifetime, the work of our own personal lifetime, is to return to our center and to learn as much as we can about ourselves in the process. So if this is you, if you're feeling off center, you don't know what your truth is, you're feeling uninspired, anxious, dull, or depressed, right? All these things that I mentioned, it's okay, right? You can always come home to yourself. It is never, ever too late to do that. But the question remains, it's how did you get pulled off course? Well, during that accumulation phase of life, when we're building our identity and we are developing physically, mentally, and emotionally, we are very, very impacted by what's around us. So we're impacted by our parents, we're impacted by our friends, the school system that we attend, the type of education we received. We're impacted by the culture at large, as well as whatever microcultures that we're involved in. That may be the culture of our extended family, our religion, our ethnicity. These are all impacting us. And on top of that, we have certain experiences that may pull us off the path. We have social media, right? Where we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people and what they are doing. We live in a really busy world. Dharma comes through stillness. That's where we start to really feel in to who we are and why we were meant to be here. Stillness and silence. Well, stillness and silence are not highly regarded in our culture. So oftentimes we haven't spent a lot of time in stillness and silence. And that's where the answers lie. The confusion comes in the constant stimulation. And that's really the bottom line is we live in a world of constant stimulation. So between all of the messages that we received and experiences that we've had, in the first half of life and the busyness of life still in this phase, because I guarantee you're probably still really busy and getting tons of stimulation every single day, it's hard to hear our inner truth. So we need to get quiet. We need to listen. We need to be patient. But we also have certain things that we can do to help us along the way. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. But the other thing that before we talk about the exercises that I'm going to go through with you, the other thing that I want to make sure is clear is something we talked about in one of our manifestation episodes recently, which is that you are in a conversation with the universe. So you come into this world with your dharma, with the essence of who you are. And the way you express that will change over your lifetime. And it's supposed to change. It's supposed to evolve, right? Because we're in that funnel and we're further and further and further getting closer to the essence of who we are and refining our Dharma. But that refinement requires us to be in communication with the universe, to listen to what it has to say, and to make micro adjustments in the material world so that we can get closer. So let's say, for example, that you feel like your dharma is music, that you want to play an instrument or to sing in some way. And originally you feel like that is becoming a really well-known artist, right? That's what you believe your dharma to be. But as you step into the life of creating music, you're hitting roadblocks, you're hitting walls. Things are just not working out for you. And there's a certain part of that that's okay, right? There's a certain part of that life's not always going to work exactly the way you want in exactly the timing that you want it to work, right? Sometimes we do have to just keep at it. But when you're hitting those roadblocks, those walls, that's your moment, that's your opportunity to turn inward and to listen and to decide if is this still the right path for me? Is this still my truth, right? Is it still the way I'm meant to express my truth? Maybe the answer is yes, and you keep moving in that direction. But maybe it's a tiny refinement. Maybe it's where you're sending your music to. Maybe it's how you're recording, the type of music you're recording. Maybe it's, you know what? Maybe I'm not meant to be a famous artist. Maybe I'm meant to teach music. Or maybe I'm meant to play music on a smaller scale, but to audiences who could really benefit from it. Right? There's so many ways that you can express this dharma of music, but it requires that that conversation with the universe. That when doors are not opening, that we question the path and then we decide if we continue exactly as we are on this path and we just need to be patient and surrender and wait for the universe's timing, or is it an invitation to make a micro pivot? A micro pivot. Notice that I said the word micro, right? This is not, I'm totally giving up music altogether. I guess it's not my dharma, it's not for me, right? Or I'm only going to play it in my living room. I'm not even going to try to go out into the world and play it, right? That's more of like it's more of like an FU to the universe, right? Oh, doors are not opening. Screw this. I'm not doing it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about listening for the small 1% shift that you can make that still feels deeply authentic and truthful to you. And to be open to that continuous conversation where you might need to make that micro pivot to further refine your Dharma and get closer and closer to it. I can tell you as a business owner, this is something that I do on a regular basis, a very regular basis. I am further and further refining my Dharma and how I want to express it in this world. And there are certain basic truths that I know so deeply that I cannot be pulled away from them because they feel deeply aligned with who I am. But there's a lot that feels right in a moment until it doesn't. And then once it doesn't, that's the invitation to make the micro pivot. Okay, so let's talk about some things you can do in real life to help you get there. If you're like, I really don't know, I am so lost. And let me tell you guys, this was me for so long. I can't tell you how long I felt this way of, I feel like when God created me or created humans, he stuck a purpose in everybody. Like if you could imagine like a conveyor belt, right? And we're producing humans and drop, everybody gets a purpose dropped inside of them. And somehow there was some sort of glitch with the conveyor belt and I was missed and they didn't put a purpose inside of me. That is how I felt for decades. That's how I felt for decades. And I felt so unfulfilled and I knew that. And I knew I was deeply seeking purpose. but yet I truly could not tell you what it was. I remember saying if I knew what it was, I would do it, right? People would say, be courageous, just don't worry about what other people think. Go out there and do it. And I would think, well, yeah, I would, except for I don't know what to do. Right? So there is no judgment here. There is no judgment. I was there for decades. So I'm telling you, if you've been there for decades, you can find your way, right? This doesn't mean that you're too old, it's over, it's not possible. You absolutely can find your way. And there are certain tools that you can use, right? So, as I mentioned, I believe my dharma is to be a teacher and a guide. And when I look back, I can see all the ways that I was a teacher and a guide. But I couldn't see that for a really long time. And that's the thing about dharma. When you start kind of honing in and getting in touch with your soul and your desires, your soul desires and who you are, you will be able to turn back around and look at your life and see all the ways that you actually were doing this throughout your life and you just weren't putting the pieces of the puzzle together because our dharma is so so much of who we are and so deeply entrenched in our soul. There's no way that we can't express it. It's just, are we expressing it with intention or not? And are we choosing to live mostly from that place of our essence, from our soul's purpose? Or are we just kind of sometimes visiting it, but mostly living an adharmic life, mostly living outside of our essence and our purpose? That's really the trajectory, right? It's taking these things that when you look back and you start saying, "Oh gosh, I was always this person and I was always expressing it. It's just that I was doing it kind of every once in a while and it felt really great when I did it, but um, I thought it was just like something that I did once in a while, not who I was, right? I thought these other things over here were more important than that. That's a lot of times where we realize we've gone off course, right? I thought getting that job was real more important. I thought getting those accolades were more important. I thought making that money was more important. And so this other thing that was I kind of couldn't not do, I discounted it, not realizing that that was actually the most important thing. And that the more I can live in that space, the more fulfilled, happy, peaceful, grounded, um, the more love I will be able to give and receive. It really is the essence of life. So, all right, our practices that I promised you. The first one is to grow your relationship with your body. What does that mean, right? We live in our body every single day since we were born till we take our last breath, we are in our body. But many of us actually live from the neck up, right? We live in our heads. We live from a place of thinking, analyzing, dissecting, judging. We live from a logical state of being. What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? What is considered right, quote unquote, or wrong, quote unquote, by society and culture and traditions. But our bodies tell us the truth. So our minds will lie to us all day, every day, because that's where your ego lives. Your ego lives in your mind, and your ego is concerned with one thing and one thing only, which is survival. So we need our ego, right? We wouldn't have made it this far in life if we didn't have one, right? We somehow would have killed ourselves. We absolutely need an ego. But when we live solely from our ego, that's when we get off track because, as I mentioned, the ego is concerned only with keeping you alive. It's not concerned with fulfillment. It's not concerned with you expressing your essence or having meaning in your life or serving others or having a deep connection to yourself. It is really, truly about me and I, me and I, me and I. What is going to keep me alive, keep me safe, both mentally, emotionally, and, and physically? What is going to make me look better in the eyes of others? What is going to make me feel better, right? What's going to fulfill my desires from a physical state, meaning, not being hungry, not being too hot or too cold, physically uncomfortable in some way. What's going to be pleasurable to my eyes and my ears and my skin, right? This is where the ego lives from. And as I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But we have to balance that. That's the horizontal plane of life. Ego lives on the horizontal plane of life. And we have to balance that with the vertical part of life, the depth of life. And our bodies are not conditioned. They are not conditioned by society, by culture, by our previous experiences. They do not lie to us. They are truth tellers. And so when you can learn to get into your body and feel what your body is trying to tell you, understand its messages, it will go a long way towards uncovering your Dharma. Because when you're in Dharma, you will feel it in your body. You will feel expansive. You will feel peaceful, relaxed. You will feel joyful, in flow, right? These are all sensations you will feel in your body. It may feel like spaciousness. It may feel like warmness in your chest, right? In your heart chakra area. It may feel like a flutter of excitement in your belly. It may feel like just this like expansiveness, almost as if your body takes up the whole room. It may feel like peace, right? Everything else falls away. The mind is not, churning out thoughts a million miles an hour. You just feel focused. And paying attention to those signs in your body is powerful when it comes to uncovering your Dharma. And I have an episode that I previously recorded. I will put it in the show notes, about what it feels like to get into your body. And I think I provided an exercise in there as well. So I will link that and you can listen in for more detail, more practice on how you can get into your body. But this is one reason that yoga is so powerful and why I love it. It is the asana piece of yoga, right? When you go to the yoga class, is all about getting inside of your body. Yes, you're moving, but with the intention of feeling inside your body. That's called interoception, which I actually think I have a podcast on that as well. I'm going to be linking tons of podcasts beneath this episode, in the show notes. So take a look at those. But interoception is your ability to feel inside of your body. And yoga is very powerful at doing that. And once you learn how to do it, right? Once you just become aware of all the sensations inside your body, then you get to learn, what does that sensation mean for me? And then that gives you a lot of information about what your body is trying to tell you. And remember, your body is a truth teller. Your mind lies, your body tells you the truth. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, archetypes. Archetypes are a fabulous way for you to get in touch with your Dharma. So what is an archetype? Archetypes are energetic lenses. They manifest as particular themes or stories in your life. They often lie dormant until a situation triggers them. And knowing the ones that lie within us give us clues to our dharmic path. So this could be, we can think of this in terms of looking towards historical figures, real life people, either living or deceased, fictional or mythological characters, gods, goddesses, even animals. And we look at the characteristics that feel like us, that we're drawn to, okay? Because you're going to be drawn to characteristics that represent who you are. So when you think about someone, some person, or god or goddess, or character, or animal that you are really drawn to, start asking yourself, why am I drawn? Why am I drawn to them? So I've mentioned on many episodes, previously that I grew up in the era of the Oprah Winfrey Show. I watched it my entire childhood up and through my adulthood. I think I was a mother by the time she went off the air, and I think I started watching her when I was like 9 or 10. So many, many years of watching Oprah, and I always credit her as being my first spiritual teacher when I didn't even know what one of those was. And I felt so pulled to her. And she is an archetype for me, right? She is a teacher. She is a guide. She is very spiritual. She is a strong woman who balanced her fire with her heart, right? She had great balance of fire and heart, or striya and sukha, which is how we say it in yoga. Um, and I just was so pulled towards her. And that's why, right? So that's just an example. Maybe you can journal for yourself. Who have you been really pulled towards in your life? Who do you feel this magnetic connection with, even if you have never met them? And what is it about them that makes you feel that way? Those are clues to the archetypes that live within you. And you don't have to have just one, right? You can have multiple archetypes. A lot of times we'll have a dominant one, kind of a dominant and a subdominant. But you can have as many as you want, right? But you will often find that you have, particular things that you lean towards. And it's a great information for you on this journey. Okay, number 3. Follow the path of fascination. What does that mean? That means anything that fascinates you. What does fascinate mean when I say fascinate? That thing that you just can't stop reading about, can't stop watching, can't stop listening to, can't stop talking about, can't stop doing, right? That's your path of fascination. And you just want to know more and more. You want to experience more and more. You want to get better and better, right? This is your path of fascination. And it is a huge clue as to where you are meant to be or what you are meant to be doing in this world, to your dharmic path. And here's the thing that I need to say about it. It doesn't always make sense. In fact, often it doesn't make sense. And that's okay, right? You still want to follow it. You don't have to worry about what other people are going to think about doing it, if it's going to make you money, if you'll ever be good at it, um, if it costs money, right? Not even just make money, does it cost money? I don't care what the concern is. I don't care what that negative voice in your head, the one that lies to you all day long, says to you about it. Ignore it. Ignore it and follow your path of fascination. At some point, it will become clear to you why this is your path of fascination. And it may not even be the thing that you are currently fascinated by. This current fascination could lead you to something else that you're like, oh, ding, 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 this was it. This is where I was going all along, but I needed to first follow that other path to reach here, right? This path took me to where I was meant to be. There are really truly an infinite number of ways that following your path of fascination can land you in your dharma. And the thing that I want to emphasize is that you don't need to know, right? You don't need to know how you're going to get there or when you're going to get there or if you're going to get there. Just follow it. Just follow it and follow all the joy that comes with it, right? Because we're really fascinated by something, then engaging with it is fun, right? It can sometimes be hard and challenging, but it's also fun and playful and joyful. So follow it, enjoy it. Don't worry about where it's going. I give you a permission slip here and now in this moment. I am writing it out and I am handing it to you to follow what lights your heart and soul on fire without any concern about what it means. Just do it. I love the Nike slogan. Just do it. Okay. Just do it. Okay. Next one is real tangible, practical. maybe write a list. What am I good at? One list, what am I good at? And another list, what do I love to do? And then cross-reference those lists. Find the things that showed up on both of those lists. So I'm going to give you an example. I love to play a musical instrument. Currently thinking about playing the ukulele. I played the guitar many years ago. I raising children, all the things I haven't played in a while. I'm looking to get back to it, and I'm thinking about doing the ukulele this time. Not the point. Point being, I stunk at playing the guitar, okay? I was not a good guitar player. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was fun. But I was not good at it. So if I was writing my list, I may write on the list, love to play a musical instrument on what do I love to do, but I would not be writing that on what am I good at, right? So that would not be leading me towards my Dharma because it's not showing up on both lists. So that's what you want to do. You want to write those two lists, cross-reference them, pull out the pieces that are showing up on both of those lists. And then once you do that, take an inventory of your life and look at where maybe those things have shown up over and over in your life. And that's going to be a really, really big clue as to where you're meant to be going. And I would add that you have to be fascinated by it, right? So this going back to this path of fascination. So what are you good at? What do you love? And are you still fascinated by it, right? Because we can be fascinated by something for a while and then it loses its luster for us, right? Just different phases and stages of life. So are you good at it? Do you love it? And are you still fascinated by it? All right, so that was number 4. Number 5, how can I serve? How can I serve? So Dharma is, I mentioned, not, Dharma's not about just you. Dharma is about raising your own consciousness, elevating your own soul, evolving your own soul. But it's also about doing that for the world in whatever way that looks like, right? So you're going to be able to serve in your way. I hope that this podcast is of service to people, right? This is what I love to do. I love to teach and I love to guide and I love to hold space. And I do that through this podcast. And I'm hoping and I love it and it lights my soul on fire. And I do it in service of others, right? Hopefully there's something that I say or some tool or practice that I give you that makes you feel seen, makes you feel more peaceful, makes you excited about life, helps you find your purpose, helps you connect to yourself or connect to the world in some way, right? That is my intention behind my Dharma, right? Behind the service portion of my Dharma. So how can you serve the world? And when you think about how you want to serve, it's going to be natural for you to kind of uncover a piece of your Dharma because how do I want to serve? Well, I want to really at its root, I want to help elevate global consciousness, right? That's how I want to serve. But how do I want to do that? Well, I'm a teacher and a guide. So I want to do that by teaching and guiding, right? So those are the questions that you're asking yourself. Are you a storyteller? Do you like to build things? Are you a caretaker? Are you a rebel or a disruptive, right? One of those people who's like always questioning the norm, right? Always wanting to like poke the bear, right? Is that you? That's my husband. Rebel, disruptive, right? Disruptor. These people are fantastic. We need them in the world. Are you a protector? Do you find yourself always wanting to protect the underdog, and make sure that no one's getting harmed in any way? Are you an artist, right? Someone who likes to create? Do you feel like you're a healer? Someone who loves to help heal people, maybe physically, emotionally, spiritually. Are you a seeker? Someone who wants to know the deeper meaning to life's questions. I am definitely a seeker. And in my seeking, right, in this path of fascination that I follow of deeper and deeper layers of ancient wisdom and self-discovery, I take what I learn and I teach you guys about it and I guide my clients to a better life with it. Right? That's part of my service. That's how I serve. So, what kind of person are you? How do you want to serve? Asking that question is really, really powerful. And here we go. We made it there. Number 6, deathbed confessions is what I call them. So I want you to take a moment and if you're, if you're doing something where you can't, then pause and come back because I'm going to have you kind of close your eyes and we're going to have a little visualization here. So if you're driving the car, you could just listen in, maybe do this visualization later, but make sure that you're safe, whatever you're doing. And I love this visualization because there's a book. It's called The Top Five Regrets of the Dying. It's by Bonnie Ware. And she was a hospice nurse. And so she sat with dying patients for many, many years. And she started to notice themes coming up about the things that people would say on their deathbed, the things that they wish they had done differently in their life. And so she realized that there were really primarily 5 things that people regretted when they were on their deathbed. And the absolute number one was, and this is a quote from her book, I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. That was the number one regret of dying patients. That doesn't, is if that's not a wake up call, I don't know what is, right? Do you want to get to your deathbed and look back and say, I should have, I wish I had, I wish I would have been courageous enough. I wish I would have put the time aside for the self-discovery work. I wish I would have followed my path of fascination and not worried about what other people thought or where it was going. I wish I would have leaned into my relationship with my body so I could understand what it was trying to tell me, right? We don't want to be there. We want to, as Mary Oliver said, live this one wild and precious life to its fullest. So if you're in that space that you can close your eyes, I invite you to do so. And I want you to imagine yourself very old, very, very old. Okay. You're in your 90s, you're 100, right? You've lived this long and beautiful life. And you are laying in bed and you know your time is coming. And you are surrounded by your loved ones, right? The people who care about you the most in this world. Maybe that's a partner or children or grandchildren. Maybe it's soul connected friends. Just those people have nothing but love in their hearts for you and who have been there to witness your journey, to see you move through this life. Now, what do you want those people to be saying about you? As you're laying there and your eyes are closed and you can hear them talking about you and they're talking about who you were, right? And the things that they so admired about you. What do you want them to be saying? Do you want them to be saying that you lived with purpose, right? That you knew who you were and you went after life with wild abandon? Do you want them to say that you were courageous? Do you want them to say that you really served others, that you made a difference in this life? Going back to what kind of person am I? Do you want them to say she was a teacher, a healer, a beautiful artist? She was a guide, a protector, a visionary. She was a rebel, right? She was a rebel. She never allowed anyone to convince her of anything until she proved it to herself. She was a beautiful storyteller or she built amazing things, whether that be skyscrapers or businesses or homes, right? Or she was a seeker. She was always looking for deeper meanings, greater understanding, diving into that vertical aspect of life. What do you want them to say about you? The answers to those questions is going to give you a lot of guidance on this path. When we think about what we want to leave behind, right? The legacy that we want to leave behind and the permission that we want to give to our loved ones, because by being all of who you are giving permission for those you love to do the same, and for anyone you come in contact with to do the same. So is that how you want to leave this world? And if it is, then what do you need to start doing now? So that when you are that 90-something-year-old lady laying in the bed surrounded by your family, you feel peaceful. You don't have those regrets. You feel like, yeah, I did it. I lived this wild, precious life. I committed to who I was. I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of what I've done. And I've loved and I've served and I've done it from the seat of my soul. All right, my friends, I hope those 6 tools are helpful for you. I would definitely go back, re-listen to them, journal on them. They are really helpful when you feel super lost about where you are and what you're meant to be doing. And if you need additional help along the way, then that is why I'm here. That is what I do as your coach and your guide, is to help you to go deeper into things like this, right? This is what we do together, along with helping you to release any resistance. We come up against resistance when we want to step into change, and that's normal. That's so normal. And often we need a guide to help us move through that resistance. So book that clarity call, link in my show notes, and also go into the show notes and check out all the other episodes that I'm going to link in here, because as I was going through this, I was thinking of more and more episodes that would help you with these tools to give you a little more depth and clarity on them. So I'll link as many as I can find. Go searching in the archives for you and check them out. Have a beautiful week, my friends. I love you all so much. See you next time.